Yeah, it was, I don't know. I feel like I'm always on edge playing Petra just because she can hit winners from anywhere. She can get really hot and kind of make you feel like crap, I guess, on the court. So obviously I haven't beat her as well yet. So happy that I was able to not get frustrated today, to kind of stay in the match, even if I was down a break or it just got broken. Thought I returned really well and ended up serving really smart when I had to.
Okay, very good. Questions, name and affiliation, please. Ava.
Congrats on the win, Jess. Ava Wallace from the Washington Post. What have you learned about what it takes for you kind of off the court to make it through to the second week of a slam?
Yeah, I think it's a tough balance, you know, especially in New York. Everything's so hectic and crazy and you can feel really overwhelmed. I do love the feeling of when a second week starts, it's so quiet and it's like an amazing feeling when you're like, oh, everyone's gone. So that's always a great feeling and motivation. But yeah, I definitely think just balancing. I think, you know, for me, sometimes I need to go out and do things. I need to like not be stuck in my hotel room and, you know, be on my computer just watching TV all day. I think I need to balance the city or wherever I am a little bit and just allow enough time to rest and recover and not overdo it too much with media or anything, because I have a tendency to say yes to everything. So sometimes I have to like balance that a little bit better. Favorite shows? Honestly, the last few weeks I've been here, all I've been watching is Family Guy. I don't know why. My husband and I are just like on this kick. So that's kind of what I've been watching.
Oh, very nice. Howard.
Hi, Howard Fendrich with the Associated Press. First of all, keep saying yes.
I was just told that I'm very good at interviews. The woman from Amazon was very, yeah, it was a nice compliment.
First, I wanted to ask you just about sort of the oddity of what went on with the rain and no roof. You were lucky enough to be playing on one of two courts here with a roof, but I was curious, was that annoying? And how did you spend the time, and what were you told about why it hadn't been closed?
Yeah, so I don't know. They told me, they said, oh, we're going to close the roof or we're going to check on it. And then they came out and said, we're not going to close the roof. It looks like it passed. Petra and I were a little confused because it still looked pretty dark out when we looked up. But we're like, okay, whatever, we'll keep playing. The court dries pretty fast, so I don't think they don't really want to close it unless they really have to. So court dried up pretty quick, and then we were back out there, and it was still kind of dark, though, and I had a feeling that it was going to start raining again, and then they ended up closing it. So I'm not really sure if it was just a mishap with the weather or what happened, but of course it's a little frustrating. You don't really want to be, especially at the start of the match when there's like no feeling of what's going on. You're just sitting there in limbo, like not sure what to do. Yeah, that can be hard.
Mark.
Mark Perman, New York Post. Well, you said you still do things in Manhattan. What kind of balancing act do you do?
Oh, I just mean like going to dinner, going to see a show. We went to a Mets game. We went to a Yankees game. Just trying to like not sit in my room and like order Uber Eats. Because, yeah.
Also, you had said yesterday that your father isn't here yet. Is there a point that he might come at some point, or? And what has he been saying to you as you're now in there?
He just tells me good job. He likes to give his little, I don't know, recap of the match or what the opponent was doing, but nothing major. I mean, it's, I think I don't know, he might enjoy watching at home a little bit to kind of not be so stressful. Honestly, if I have my brother and sister here already, so I don't really know if like I made it to the final, let's say, if he would come necessarily. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. Howard, you had a follow-up. I'm sorry.
If I could ask you to look ahead, maybe first talk about Iga. If you were to play her, what can you take away from earlier meetings, including not very long ago in Paris? Completely different surface, but do you feel like you can learn some things from how that went and apply them here? And what do you think for you would be the key against her?
Yeah, of course. I think, I don't know, I think I'd maybe take some more chances this time by playing her, especially playing her on a maybe quicker hard court than last time playing her on clay. Yeah, I think I just have to play within myself and play smart and be present. I think I tried to do that today. Today, I already said, felt like a quarterfinal to me just because I haven't beaten her before. She's been having a good summer. So I was just like, don't, overthink it. Don't try to go for too much. Don't try to force anything. Just try to play within yourself. And I thought I did a great job of that today. So I'm really just going to try and replicate that if I happen to play Iga.
Okay, Matt.
Sorry, if I could she happens to be down against Niemeyer. Yeah. If you do play Jewel, what do you know about her game? Have you ever, practiced with her? Or?
I've never practiced with her. I've never hit with her, but I've actually seen her name quite often sneak in some good wins. So I'm familiar with her. I always thought she was a very good player and she was going to be good when she could string some matches together at some bigger events, which she started to do. And at Wimbledon, you saw that. I think maybe it wasn't talked about as much because there wasn't any points. So it's not like her ranking made a huge jump or anything, but she likes to move forward. Has a really nice game and seems kind of fearless as well. So it's going to be an interesting match, especially playing someone with kind of nothing to lose. First time in that situation, especially if she beats Iga, she's going to have a lot of confidence. So either way, it's going to be very tough.
Matt.
Hey, Jessica. Matt Futterman from the New York Times. A lot of complaints among players this week, whether it's humidity, balls, wind, all kinds of conditions. What are you doing to try and manage those things, or are you just completely unbothered by any of them?
Oh no, I definitely, I definitely don't like when things start feeling weird with my tension. So I'm definitely one of those players where I try everything, and actually have gotten much better at that. The last year or so, with if something doesn't feel right, to have another racket, try a different tension, because you never know with the balls, the weather, the sun, the shadow, like it doesn't matter that maybe something feels off and you have to make a change. So I've definitely gotten better at being less stubborn about that type of stuff. I also don't hit a lot of spin. So I tend to feel when the tension's a little different or the ball's flying a little bit more, I definitely feel that a lot. But at the same time, I think it's important not to let it frustrate you too much. And that was like today, I actually ended up switching tension when the roof closed because I knew it was going to be a lot heavier. I went and got a couple more rackets strong on the break. And actually, I think you saw me, I was changing rackets at the beginning and found one that I felt really good, luckily, and was able to reel off like the next 5-6 games. So I'm glad I picked the right racket. But I definitely can get annoyed. But I maybe took a little inspiration from Ons because there's been a lot of talk about the ball change. And she was like, I just adapt to whatever. And I was like, that's a good mindset. I need to think like that more often.
The heat and humidity, is it just Florida?
The humidity is similar to Florida. Not as humid as Florida. At least it feels like the last couple of weeks actually hasn't been too hot, at least when I played. But with the balls and some of the courts maybe play a little bit different, it can feel different every single day.
Willie.
Willie Weinbaum from ESPN. Congratulations. You spoke a couple of days ago about Derek Jeter, and you've talked about Serena Williams. Which mantras or examples of prominent athletes in your experience have meant the most to you as you've developed your career?
Yeah, I love learning about all kind of the greatest in their fields and taking things from them and seeing what sticks and what I like and what I can relate to. I think it's important also to be your own person, but at the same time, I love finding inspiration. So I think one of the best things I've read is actually from Ronda Rousey. When I read her book, she said, my mom always told me you have to be the best in the world on your worst day. And I always thought that's just to a T what champions do. And I think I've really tried to adapt that mindset because I can be kind of a perfectionist. So even talking about tension, I'm always like, if it doesn't feel right, like nothing's going right, and I can get kind of hard on myself. And I think I've done a really good job the last few years of realizing that and winning a lot of matches where I'm like, oh my gosh, I played horrible. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to the opponent, but just you're feeling like everything's forehand feels terrible, your serve feels terrible, but to be the best, you have to figure it out. And that's something I've tried to take from all of the GOATs and all their fields, and I think they all do that. So that's something that I like to find inspiration from.
Okay. Go to the back of the room.
Chris Bowers, US Open Radio. Because of your family background in sports, which an awful lot of American fans know about, is it very different playing a tournament in America where you are known partly for your family background as opposed to overseas where you're just Jessica Pegula tennis player?
Yeah, it's definitely different playing overseas. I feel like people don't make the connection as often as they do here. For me, I don't really, I mean, there's a lot of people from Buffalo. They're kind of all over the place. You always find somebody that's a Bills or Sabres fan. And to me, I think I've more embraced it and found it kind of fun and cool that these people that probably, because there's not a lot of Buffalo or tennis in Buffalo, that have know nothing about tennis, but like they'll come and watch the match in Cincinnati or here or wherever just because they're like a fan of the teams. So I think it's cool that way that I can kind of embrace and show tennis maybe a little bit more to Buffalo and give them something to root for, because they definitely like getting behind their sports teams. So it's been more a fun experience.
Okay, Simon.
Simon Briggs, Daily Telegraph. I had a player council-based question, because you're on the player council at the moment. Victoria Azarenka came in here yesterday and said that like the number one thing that she was concerned about, was working about in the player council, was exploitative, manipulative coaches. I just wondered if you could give us any more context about what has sort of prompted that focus and what the kind of goal was from the player council on that.
Yeah, that's something we're definitely, well, I mean, obviously we represent the players and we want to protect everyone as much as possible. And I think someone like Vika, who's had so much experience and been on tour for so long, that she can definitely attest to maybe when she sees something that's not right or weird behavior or something like that. And I think shining a light on it earlier nowadays is much easier to do than it was maybe 20 years ago, where things maybe weren't as, talked about and wasn't as open about things. So I think from a player council point of view, we want to put emphasis on that, and we want to put emphasis on, what situations aren't right. Has someone talked to this girl? Has someone talked to this coach? Does someone want to maybe explain X, Y, and Z, or why the situation looks so weird? Or, I heard from a couple girls that this happened. And I think it's more even just like following up and checking up on, whether you hear a story or you see something or you see behavior, not kind of just letting it go. It's almost like see something, say something, like, or, the girls who, being like a woman in today's world, I've had someone come up to me and be like, that guy came up and talked to you. Are you okay? So I think it's a lot of like the little things of doing that. And we're very open about that on the player council. And I think having, again, experienced players, I think all of us are a little older as well. And so I think, get that protective mindset of seeing all the young girls come up and wanting to make sure that they're protected in the best way. So we're always trying to do that, always try to put a focus on it, and hopefully get more and more, I don't know what the word is, processes in place for things that, I don't know, make us question what's going on. Okay,
Joel, last question.
Just to clarify a couple of tennis things. So you went back on the roof delay, tighter strung racket, from what to what?
I actually ended up playing with, I got one strung looser, one strung tighter, but I'm weird because the tighter ones tend to feel looser to me. It doesn't make any sense. My coach is like, I don't understand why. That's not how it works. But for some reason in my brain, that's how I think. And so I actually ended up using a racket from last night that got strung.
What was it strung at?
The tension, I'm sure, dropped. It was strung at 51.
Okay, and then how was it early in the second set? She began to assert herself. I think you were serving at love 2, love 30. Yeah. So how was managed that situation? Yeah, I was just like, okay, don't get frustrated. She hit a couple good shots. Stick to your patterns. And I think for me, like my placement on my serve was very important. She can really hit it so early, so out in front, and hit her spots so well that makes it just really hard to defend. And even if you get back the first ball or the return, you're probably going to lose the point. So I was just trying to focus on hitting my spots on my serve. And I knew what those were. I just had to focus on that and not get frustrated if she was going to hit a winner or something.